What up, though, everybody? It is your boy Shane G. We are here once again with OTI Open to Interpretation right here, only on the Ethos Media Network. And today, I really want y'all to pay attention, man. We're going to be dropping some gems in this episode. You might get a lot of free game. You know what I mean? Today, what we're talking about is how to build a family dynasty. So, you know how we do. We're going to get right into the clip. Let's go.
When you think of American politics, you think of the Kennedys, the Clintons, and the Bushes. In business, the Waltons, the Rockefellers, and even the Kardashians. Dynasties are usually born out of money, mainly business ventures and investments. In the US, it's known as the American Dream, where everyone, supposedly, has a chance at making it big. Dynasties aren't limited to America. The history of China is divided into the rise and fall of ruling families. In Kenya, politics is dominated by the Kenyatta family. So what does it take to build a dynasty? And more importantly, to maintain it?
Dynasty.
All right. Yeah, the UK accent might throw y'all off a little bit. You know what I mean? They do pronounce it dynasty, but we in America pronounce it dynasty. So that's what we talk about today. I got the homies with me, LOF, Lack of Flaws, and the homie Twine. What's good, fellas?
What up, though?
Y'all already know, man. So we can hop right into it, man. We can answer her question. The first question that she posed, and this is gonna be the same question I posed. What does it take to create a family dynasty? We'll tackle that part first. What does it take to create a family dynasty? Flaw, how about you go first, bro?
It takes communication. It takes time. It takes multiple generations having a similar goal. It's not really, or you need one person to be able to amass the money necessary, and also be able to put the infrastructures and rules in place of the family bank and family trust and things of things of that nature, to be able to set safeguards from future generations being able to run through it. Because the truth of the matter is, you're not going to be here to make all the costs for it, no matter how it goes. The only way for it to be a dynasty is for it to be something that is so valuable that the next generations decide to hold on to it and not liquidate it. That's the only way to become, a dynasty, in my opinion.
Twine, same question, bro.
Man, like for me, it's very opinion based because I've yet in my life so far been able to create a dynasty. But when I think about it, the first things I think is like it takes one man or woman's immense discipline and sacrifice to be able to weather all the ups and downs of starting a business or something. Because it's plenty of people that start businesses and they become successful. They might even become millionaires. And then at some point they might sell the business. And it's being about, because to be a dynasty, you have to hold on to things. Like, I forget the name of the family, but the people that own Hennessy and Louis and all them people, they were able to hold on to those things. They're still from the 1500s or the 1600s, I believe. So it's about longevity and being able to, once you become something, then to me, you have to start feeding into what you become, meaning like now the whole family is programmed to be, hey, my kids are going to go to school to do something to benefit this business. Their kids are going to go to school to do something to benefit this business, or whether they don't go to school, but everybody's going to do something to benefit this business over a certain amount of time to where you can become a standard. Like when you become a dynasty, you become a standard. Like the Waltons and Walmart mean something. Kraft, the Kraft family and Robert Kraft and the Patriots and the cheese company mean something. Like it's just about being able to go through it. And I think the first steps to me when I think about it is that one man or woman who's willing to put everything on the line and sacrifice and have the discipline. And to be completely honest, I think that first initial person is probably not going to be well liked by their immediate family in their time, because what it's going to take to become that you're going to have to neglect a lot of stuff. Probably your wife, probably your children, probably a lot of things, probably your husband. That thing that you're trying to build is going to have to be the number 1, 2, and 3 priority. And that particular person is going to be making a sacrifice and probably not going to be well liked. But people down the road and generations down the road might be able to look back and appreciate the sacrifice that grandma, granddad, or great grandma, great granddad put in to allow us the opportunity to just further things. Because, you know, it's the hardest is always in the beginning. Like once you become used to some things and the next generation is starting off 100 times ahead than you. You know what I mean? The next generation might have $100 million trust, so it's easier for them to fund their ideas and keep building and expounding on what you built. It's that first person, to me, that's the key. That first human being that puts it all on the line and kind of builds the foundation of what is to become said dynasty.
So let me ask you this then. Do you think that that plan almost has to be in a person's head first before they seek out like their partner? You know what I mean? Like they have to have in their head that they want to build a dynasty and then seek their husband or wife based on that, because their husband or wife is going to have to understand that in order for them to even stick around for the whole thing to come into fruition. You get what I'm saying?
Well,
so how do you think somebody goes into that?
I don't think you have to have it in your head. I think you just have to be willing to make the ultimate sacrifice, where it's like, if your husband or your wife aren't with the program, you got to be willing to part with them. That's why I mean, like the program, once you decide this is the program, this is what you after, that has to become priority 1, 2, and 3. And whoever's not with it, if it comes push to shove, if your husband like, well, it's the business of me, or your wife is the business of me, you have to choose the business. Like that's just some of the necessary sacrifices, I think, when I think of everything it takes to build a dynasty. Like somebody's going to have to make the ultimate sacrifice. And it might be more than one generation that has to do it to really hammer out and imprint you in a country, in a society, whether that's Northern America, South America, Asia, whatever continent you own, to be imprinted in that type of way. It's probably going to take several generations of sacrifice and discipline, in my humble opinion.
How do you think, or how would you go about trying to, I guess, because again, it's going to take multiple generations of your own family. How do you get them on board?
Now that I can only think the only way you get them on board is to start them off young and kind of drill it in their head, like this is what we do. You know what I mean?
Do you think they
like,
need to see the results first, like the results of, you know, it
well,
working before they would jump on?
Seeing the results make it easier for them to buy in, but ultimately, I think it's just about whether they have faith in that particular person. Like, you know what? I may not see it yet, but we're all buying in. It's like a team thing. Like you kind of get it and you kind of catch a groove. It's like a sports team that might start the season off kind of shaky, and then they start to believe in each other. Then after a while, they get hot at the right time. And they're like, man, I think we could do this shit. And they kind of ride it out. I think it's the same way because there's going to be ups and downs. I think it's just about continuing even after the downs. Like, you know what? I know we hit a snag. I know we maybe took a step backwards, but let's take 2 steps forward. Let's just keep pushing. And as you continue to do that, I think then it becomes easier for your kin to believe, like, you know what? I see it. I see the vision. And the energy just starts to snowball in a sense, and create an avalanche. And I think it's a lot of, whether you want to call it luck or whatever you want to call it, I think some things have to go your way as well. You have to be around the right network of people. I think it becomes a perfect storm to be a dynasty. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be completely honest. As an African American, it could be slipping my brain right now, and I hope y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't think of no black dynasties at the moment. Like,
Where the whole family's getting it like that. The
yeah,
Wayans.
I guess I was just about to say, I literally was just about to say maybe the Wayans, if you look at, what they're able to do in the comedic side of things and entertainment, um, but
Flaw, what's your thoughts, bro? So the first question, just to remind you, was: do you think somebody needs to have that mindset and go into seeking whoever their partner is going to be, having that mindset, so that way they can be like, "Yo, this is the program. You got to be on deck with this," or is that something that they have to, you know, convince them of later, or how do you think that people should approach that?
You can't control one. You can't control when you put the pieces together. You have no say in that. You have no say in when those pieces come together. You have no say in when you may have found this person that you're sharing your life with. You have no say in that necessarily either, as far as when you may have encountered them, as far as you being on your journey. So if you marry your high school sweetheart and you live to 80 years old, you can have 60, 50, 60 years of running a company, bro. 60 years of building a brand. And that's what happened. When you look at a lot of these companies, you're not necessarily seeing multiple generations give a fuck. You're seeing one person make that ultimate sacrifice and commit their lives to something. But in the course of their lifetime, you're seeing a person build multi-billion-dollar organization. You're seeing like Apple didn't exist. Apple didn't exist. Like, that's crazy to think. Like, Apple's not 50 years old. It's not. It's not a 50-year-old company yet. So when we step back and look at some of these things, it's like Amazon's not a 50-year-old company. It's a billion-dollar company. So these things were built in one generation's lifetime. So in one fell swoop, one person's making that level of dedication. The reason I said it takes multiple generations to build a dynasty, because you have to have at least, in my opinion, at least 1 to 2 generations after that are willing to carry on that mission.
And that's
The
why
Kennedys are
yeah.
the Kennedys are the Kennedys because they all committed to public service. They're not the Kennedys because they're rich. They're the Kennedys because they all had a similar calling in what they all chose to do with their platform and their money. Yes, they had a lot of influence and they had money, don't get me wrong, but they were a family of politicians that was all jointly aligned on different levels of politics, presidents, governors, mayors, and all of the congressmen and women, et cetera, et cetera. That's not the same. So a lot of times in the Black community, we'll have one person be really successful, but are people going to get up every day? Is the next generation going to get up and honor that business? I think we talked about it. Maybe it was off camera in another episode, but we discussed the I'm thinking about something specific and I want to make sure I get it right. We talked about the wash and foes, or the dry cleaners that Pops and Grandma ran together that put all the kids through school. But Pops was an owner operator. It wasn't something that he owned and just got a check from. That's the difference. That's the big difference that I see a lot with a lot of people is Jeff Bezos is an owner operator. Now, yeah, today he has obviously a worldwide global team to run his businesses and whatnot. But there was a point where Jeff was an owner operator. He didn't just get a check for owning this. He had to show up and do the work. So yeah, just because this little sweatshop, this little wash and fold, or this little dry cleaners has been able to put 3 generations of kids through school. The question is there a person in the new generation who's going to show up and put in that work, or has the business acumen to be able to bring in an operator to handle the running of the business, but still keep it in the family? Usually we divest of the asset. We sell the business, we sell the land, we sell the building, and we move on.
Word. And so, yeah, so you bring up a good point. Now, bringing up Jeff Bezos, you know, from my understanding, he got a divorce, right? So, you know, because that was big news, you know, his wife getting half the money, whatever, right? So that aside, if he's not married anymore, is it possible for him to have a dynasty if he doesn't have children?
Yeah,
Like, who
I
would he
mean,
leave that business to? You know what I'm saying? Like, does a dynasty have to be family? I guess. I mean, we are talking about family dynasties, so I mean, you know, what would
I mean,
yeah, so I
the
guess what would a
dynasty,
person
a
in that
dynasty
situation, how would
doesn't,
they build theirs?
a dynasty, no, a dynasty is about downline. If we want to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
downline does not have to be 100% connected to bloodline. That is one form of downline. That is the most common and genetically traced going back to, you know what I'm saying, the beginning of man. So I get that. But there is a such thing as you can look at, yo, who did this person put on? Or who came from this person's tree? That's another way of doing it as well. So if you didn't have a son, but you had a right hand man that you mentored or that you looked after and you gave it to that person, that happens in business all the time.
Twan, what's your thoughts on that, bro? Do you have to
Yeah.
like if we're talking family dynasty, do you have to have children?
No, I don't think you have to have children. I just think you just have to have somebody to carry on the torch, whether it's blood or not. Somebody has to believe in the mission and complete the mission, whether it's your family, blood, a friend, a stranger that became a friend. It doesn't matter who it is. It just has to be somebody who's on the same wavelength and frequency to not only complete the mission, but maybe take the mission to the next level. And it's still rooted in whoever started it. So it's kind of like still part of
But you know what?
um
You just said something important, and I didn't mean to cut you off, bro. But I think we finally hit a point in today's show where you said something that really sparked something that I had to share. You brought up a good point. It's not just about mining the store. It's not just about manning the store at some point. Some of these things that people are taking, okay, moms and grandpops and them had the dry cleaner. Maybe it's on you to make it 4, 5. Maybe there's still work to be done in this generation that's inheriting these assets. But some of these people that are inheriting these things have zero interest in the thing that they're inheriting. But the difference is this: if you were a member of the Heinz family, ketchup, as an example, I said that's Heinz, right? Yeah, that's Heinz.
Yep,
yeah,
you got it.
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
All right, cool. So okay. So if you're a member of the Heinz family, ain't nobody over there asking you if you give a fuck about tomatoes. Ain't nobody asking you if you care about tomatoes. Tomatoes has been great to this family.
Right.
This isn't about what you want to do. Tomatoes have been great to this family. So I think the relationship and the respect for what got us here also changes. So if you come to me and you say that how many black people after one generation have the ability to be like, we're not gonna sell it, we just gonna get our dividend check. Or does that black person, because of us being set back so far, do we have to liquidate it? Because one, we're not equipped to run the business. Now that could be because we didn't have an interest in it when we were younger, or whatever those dynamics may have been. But typically, we're not inheriting Fortune 500 companies.
Absolutely.
If Jeff Bezos spits out a kid, like that's a multi-billion-dollar company. So you don't have to go to work. You can literally just hold your stock. I heard somewhere yesterday that my man Steve Ballmer, and Steve, I'm not trying to put your business out here. The dude who Steve is the number one shareholder in Microsoft. He owns the Clippers. I heard that Steve is making like $800 million in his dividend checks. Like 800 million is coming in off his Microsoft stock alone. Like that's game changing. Like that's not even generation change. That's not even generational wealth. That's like, I don't even know what to call that. That's like a whole new family tree.
Yeah.
As
Definitely.
opposed to somebody saying, yo, I'm leaving you this business, but technically if you don't show up, it's gonna close down in like a month.
But
If you
yeah,
don't,
that's another.
if you don't get in there and operate that shit, it's closing in a month. Go ahead, Twan.
That's another thing. I don't know if minorities have been afforded the advantages that some of these other cultures have to be able to even go public, to have stock to leave to your children to get a dividend check. Like, and I don't want to make this a political thing, but everybody know that everything isn't fair and everything isn't equal. It's facts that a black person's idea or company could go to some VCs and get funded way less than some other races. I'm just saying that, we have to start thinking that way though when it comes to building some of these companies and these corporations. It's like, we are going to go public. And I don't care if I don't even want to say that on camera, but what I'm saying is, like, at one point in time we had a Black Wall Street. Like, we just funded each other through our own money and we kind of did our own thing. And what I'm saying is that could be an inspiration again for us to be like, hey, we can raise certain rounds of funding within our own communities if we just stop being consumers and start looking at the bigger picture. But that would take a lot of work and a lot of discipline. And that's why everything that I've been saying lately within myself is like, a lot of this stuff starts with discipline, man. Like, having the discipline to be able to sacrifice and make decisions for the long term and not short-term pleasure and not short-term,
Comfort.
serotonin and endorphin releases. Like, I'm going to not go on this vacation to Bali, and I'm going to save this 10,000 and reinvest it back into my company. And, those type of things. Like, yeah, your granddaddy never went on vacation. For 50 years, I never went on vacation. So that you maybe could. I don't know if people are set up in 2022 to make those type of sacrifices because of social media and a lot of things that kind of stay in your face and make you feel a little uneasy about your present existence. Like, to me, a lot of times it's like, I think like people in that mind state who trying to get at it like that, should then put a limit on how much social media they intake, because it's like, or only follow people that's going to make them feel inspired and not distracted, because you can do that. Like, it's all, social media is an algorithm based off of what you follow and what you view. So it can really be a tool for motivation if you used it that way.
It also can be make you feel like you haven't accomplished shit in your life. It can make you feel like you haven't done anything today.
Well, see, and I ain't gonna lie though, the people that do that, I think that's just a personality trait. Because
no. I'm not talking about for us personally. I'm saying
no, I get what you're saying. Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is, I don't know how you can kind of get around a person with that personality trait. Like, I could walk outside right now and see somebody riding down the street in a Wraith, and I'm going to get inspired. Somebody else might feel bad, like, oh man, I'm getting in a Camry. Like, I'm more of an optimist, I guess. I'll be like, hey, another human is driving a Wraith. They're human just like me. I just have to find my thing and work hard at my thing. And I think a lot of times what people don't look at is the discipline and the sacrifice, man. And that's just honest to goodness, man. Like,
well, I also think social media has made it hard because there's a lot of niggas out here showing shit that they wouldn't typically
that's
have
true, right?
Through traditional means. And that's a whole nother part of this, is like, so much of the situation is fake. So much of the situation is people borrowing shit and not even theirs. It's a lot of dynamics at work that's pushing a lot of shit toward people that make them question themselves if you're not fully rooted in yourself.
And that's the problem. I think you're not fully rooted in yourself. You can't constantly question yourself. You got to have some discernment as well. Like, everything that you see, believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Like, you got to have some discernment to kind of be able to be like, you know what? This may or may not be real, but if it is, congratulations to them. And I'm going to wait my turn. I'm going to keep working. To me, it's still about discipline and sacrifice. Like, I literally saw some stuff online where LeBron James was like on vacation with his family and was still hooping. clearly overseas on vacation, family vacation, and that man found the time to put in that work, and he going into his 20th season. Have no reason to go as hard as he goes.
Yeah, he does. He got a
Well,
couple reasons. He got a couple reasons. We're just not gonna talk about them today. That's
he
not the
has,
purpose of
he
today's
has,
show.
he has, he has.
He's chasing history. He's chasing history, and he wants the
No,
hands
no, no, no,
down
no,
go.
no. He's not chasing
So
anything because it's already written in stone
I'm
that
not
he's
doing
going to
this
be.
with you today. That's what I'm
No,
not
we're
doing
not
today.
going there.
That's
I'm
what
not
I'm
even
not
talking
doing
about.
today. I'm
I'm
not
not talking
What
doing
he
about
is doing, he's you could say he's building a dynasty for sure.
what I'm saying is I ain't about to argue
I will
whether
go with that.
LeBron's
I
the
will go
GOAT.
with that.
I'm not going with the GOAT argument. What I'm saying is what's in stone is this season he's going to be the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. Like
As long as he stays healthy.
yeah, exactly. As long as the Most High get him the ability to play this season and he doesn't have a catastrophic injury. If
And,
things go to
LeBron, we want you to do that.
if he
Be
has
healthy
an
as possible.
average LeBron James season, he's gonna be the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. All I'm saying is he could be like, you know what, I could coast for the last 3 seasons and still do that. But he's still putting in that work. It's the same thing with the greats to me, like the Floyd Mayweathers of the world, being immensely talented and still outworking everybody, still having the discipline to be like, I never took a drink in my life. I never smoked anything in my life. My body was my business. You have to understand what your business is. You know, like if your brain is your business, doing the things to cultivate that, surrounding yourself with the biggest and the best and the brightest, not having ego to always think you have to be the smartest person in the room, hiring people that may be smarter than you, knowing your weaknesses. And then it's just
Go ahead.
staying consistent, man. That's just my main thing. It's like when you think of dynasties, it's duration, man. It's like, are you going to be consistent? And then I'm going to be honest, like at that point, I think you do have to start making strategic decisions with your wife or whoever your mate is. And what are we going to try to have our children do? And what decisions we're going to make as a family to have that thrive, you know? Like, I think it all comes down to a lot of that decision making, discipline, and a little bit of luck as well.
For sure.
Do y'all think it's harder for do you think, I guess, is more rare? I mean, one, just because the way it works, you know what I'm saying? Like, in order to have rich people, you have to have poor people, obviously. So there can only be so many rich people, right? So there's that. But do you think also with that, because a lot of times that first generation rich person, such as a LeBron or such as let's say Jeff Bezos, you know what I mean, in the business world, a lot of times, like we said on a previous episode, they know what they had to do to obtain that wealth and to obtain that success. Do you think that maybe why we don't see as much follow up with the next generations of people like that is because they obviously didn't have that struggle coming up, because that the person before them already made it easy, so they don't even naturally have that hustle to want to continue that? Do you think that maybe that's part of the problem, or where do you see, like, maybe why some what we say fumble the bag, you know what I mean, where it's like, obviously, you know what I mean, like there's this whole setup and the next generation doesn't follow through? What do you think that comes from?
I think within our culture as African Americans, a lot of us come from middle class or poverty stricken situations. And then once we become a millionaire or wealthy, we do kind of over protect our children or over coddle or over baby them, instead of like putting that expectation on them. Like, I was just a starter. It doesn't stop with me. This is on you. Like, you have to damn near, what the Bible say, train a child in the way that it should go. Like, you have to put that responsibility on your children early. Like, your job is to take this thing to the next generation. Take it even further than me. It doesn't stop with me. This is a family thing. And I also think you have to make it family oriented. Let your children come to work with you. Let them see what you do. Let your wife see what you do. You have to make it a family thing if you want it to be a family thing. I'm not saying they have to actually work for you, but when they become of age, why wouldn't they work for you? If that's what you want them to do, eventually take over your business. Why wouldn't you be having them already knowing the shit like the back of their hand by the time
Right.
they're
I
16?
mean, the fourth richest man in the world. You brought them up earlier. And that was another one generation situation. I really struggle with pronouncing my man's name, but the dude who owns the LVMH conglomerate that bought Tiffany and all of those other things, like all of his children work in the organization, all of them. So
Yeah,
like that.
I guess I'm saying, like, how can it be a generational dynasty if the family don't buy in?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
That's
The
kind
only
of
way that works.
where I'm getting to, I guess, is like, how do you, how would y'all go about trying to get your people to buy in?
motherfucker, you don't have no choice but to buy in. And if
I
you
was gonna
don't buy
say,
in,
I was gonna say it's pretty easy. It's from. Let me rephrase that. You're not having this conversation in advance. You're not sitting down talking about, yo, man, we about to build a trust. That's not the conversation. The conversation about a trust is, yo, we figured out some shit that really, really, really worked. And now there's some things that change the way we function. So we have to put different things in place. So the buy-in comes from the situation working, not talking about what we're gonna do.
right.
So that's what I asked earlier. Then, so you do think
Jeff
it's results
Bezos
based?
isn't
Then you would argue it is results based. Then there's no
there
buy in
is
before the thing happens.
there is no dynasty to be worried about maintaining. I can't go argue with y'all about preserving a dynasty that I haven't built yet.
Right.
Right,
See,
but
Flaw's
this is a
talking.
two-part though. There's the
See,
creating
but
of the
you're
dynasty
talking
and the
about
maintaining of it.
building. And I
You're talking about
believe
who it gets handed to.
I think he's talking about building it. And the thing that I'm
Yeah.
saying is I don't necessarily know if your family finger quotes has to buy into the building part of it
No, they
because
don't. That's what I'm saying.
because it could just take one person and whoever his business people are to build it, but the family does, or the people that you're going to pass it down to definitely has to buy into the preservation and the growth of it. It's no different than how I hate to see black people fuck up real estate, where grandma spent 80 years buying this house and she passed it to you and you just fucked the house up when you could have just been passing these houses on along family generation lines.
That's what I'm saying.
Imagine if
That's the difference. And here's the thing. I'm gonna go a step further. We passing down 50,000 hole in the wall cribs. But on the flip side, they're holding on to acres and acres and acres of valuable real estate that they're
yeah,
passing
yeah.
down and turning the next
Well,
generation into
well,
millionaires instantly upon
well,
death.
you're
Upon
gonna
death.
make me get a little slightly off topic. And that's why I feel like the whole system is kind of skewed and so messed up because if you go and you actually research history, it was so many things that were done to African Americans to not allow them to own land and to not allow them to own property. And I'm talking about in the 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Yeah, of
Imagine
course.
if imagine if great great grandma Griffin or great great granddaddy uh Graham was allowed to own that 6 acres of land in certain places and pass it down. Look at that black family in California where they stole their land and the state of California had to give it back. A beachfront property that's worth tens of millions of dollars. Like, man, it's a lot of jacked up stuff that happened to where the wealth gap is so huge for a reason. Dog, I saw an article where, and sorry for the misquoting and for getting the information, but I think it might have been New York City. It was somewhere in the 50s where they were doing this program that they were giving first time home buyers like zero down on the housing, damn near zero interest rate. And the developer said the only rule is don't sell to nobody black.
Doc was talking about that actually when he came on. Shout out Doc.
This was in the 50s, bro.
Yeah, I mean they stole
in New York
Central,
City.
Central Park. They stole Central Park in New York. Central Park was black.
See,
I didn't know that.
All I'm saying is stuff
Central
like
Park,
that, man.
I believe it was a black owned village.
I didn't know that.
And that's all I'm saying is like, all I'm saying is I'm not making excuses because as a people and as a minority, we gotta keep resolve and we gotta get back focused on community. I feel like as a people, we're not community focused no more, and we don't galvanize with each other as much as we should, and we outsource to other races. And that's just flat out, man. You can't be I'm gonna put some shit out there. You can't have a dynasty if you don't own shit. Point blank and period. You can't have a dynasty that's not yours. Until African Americans get more into owning shit, we'll never have a dynasty.
And that's really why I wanted to have this conversation, because, you know, a lot of the things that we talk about are about community and about how we all can collectively help each other to, you know, get out of the space that we're in collectively. So that's why I really felt like this was an important conversation, because of what you just brought up right there, ownership. I think that's one of the key things that you have to establish before you can build a dynasty. A lot of people focus on getting rich. A lot of people focus on, you know, the just having a lot of money aspect and think that's enough. And you know, y'all both just said it. It's not enough. You got to own something too, so that way you can pass that down. And that's something that's why even having this conversation is, you know, how do you build a dynasty? Starting there is something that I think more of us could focus on. And if we do that, then that's just a small step to lead us to be able to build more dynasties, build more powerful families, and be able to establish our own connections the way everybody else do in this country.
Yeah, and we also got to stop being our own worst enemy. You know, you got to stop wanting to kill a man as soon as you see him owning something. You got to stop wanting to rob him. You got to stop having jealousy. And instead of having jealousy, once you ask that man, how was you able to do it? Can you, and in inverse, the people in our community that make it need to stop acting like they're so far removed, like they're not a generation back from being poor. And you need to go back and spread information and give people information. See, this is the thing, man, that I be telling people, because I have a lot of polarity and duality, and a lot of my friends are some of the most educated academician people in the world. And a lot of my friends are some of the busiest people in the streets and on the other side of the law. And I be sitting back sometimes and I used to wonder, why does one thing, finger quotes, that some people would think would be negativity, like drug users, not drug users, drug dealers and scammers and different things like that? Why does that spread faster, right? And a lot of people will be like, oh, it's laziness, it's that, it's this. You know what it really is when I sit down and think of it from an unbiased opinion? A nigga that's selling dope will quickly spread the information. He will quickly go to his man like, dog, I just bought this shit and they own it. Niggas on the other side don't spread the information as freely. They not running back to the hood like, nigga, I just met this logistics and I got this company in China and I got a direct with the manufacturer. You got some merch you trying to get on? Nigga, I got them. No, man. They start hiding and shedding the information, man. But the niggas in the hood is telling them, man, watch how quick scams spread. Man, that shit spread like gossip. Because it's
Real
just
fast.
freely information, man. They're freely to give up the information.
It's free and fast. Don't take the fast off it.
Oh no, see, I'm not gonna get into the schematics of it.
I mean, that's a major part. Because if you if I sat down and told a nigga in the hood that you got to follow 1,000 steps to get to $1 million, and it's gonna take you 1,000 days, and it's one step a day. You got to be willing to go through that process. You got to be willing.
No, for sure. But what I'm saying is, if you're that guy that's passing on that information, you don't give up just because one person didn't follow. Keep spreading the information.
I'm not saying that.
I'm not saying. What I'm saying is, you still have to keep spreading the information, because I swear to goodness,
that the information isn't necessarily being spread. I believe there's more. right now we're in information overload. Let's slow down.
I don't know, man. Like,
Right now we're in information overload. The social media and the amount of things that are bombarding people.
yeah, I'm not. Nah, hold on. Yeah, I'm not even saying it like that. I meant like person to person shit. Like, it's one thing to see things on the internet, but I'm talking about like person to person information. Like,
what I'm saying
here.
though is even a person that you meet, right? What's happening right now is there's so much information being thrown at you that you didn't even ask for, ads, other people posting, et cetera, that when you do hear something from a person, if it doesn't line up with what's being bombarded to you or upon you, that just causes even more question. You see what I'm saying? It makes you question the person that's saying the thing to you, which complicates it even more. And most people in the urban community don't do their own homework, and they don't
that's
do
the
their
problem.
own research. That's my point.
I guess what I'm saying is,
so I can't say the information is not there. Like I said, your man said he got a dope play. You just got to have the money and be willing to take the risk.
And that's the thing that's the thing that be kind of weird to me is like people say it's easier to sell dope. And I guess it depends on what you consider easier. It's also
notice I didn't say easy. I said you got to be willing to accept that risk factor.
Yeah, and it's like, damn, so niggas be more willing to accept life in prison and maybe getting
not easy. It was fast. That's what it was.
Oh yeah, and it's like, and then let me be real, for people that I know that really sell it, that's a myth that dope dealers need to stop telling people. It ain't fast. You know how many dope dealers that are dead broke?
Hold on.
Yeah, like that's such a myth, bro. Like,
hell yeah.
That's one of the biggest myths I ever heard, bro. Like everybody ain't getting rich selling drugs, man. Like that ain't how that go. You still have to be good at it. You still have to have a system. It's basically the same business principles. Either people have to buy into you, and that's marketing, or you have to have a system so out cold, it's just multiplying everything you're investing in. It's just the same
time,
or you just got a product to sell itself.
That's it.
Like you didn't outsource or looked up or however you want to call it on the best whatever they looking for, and it's no questions asked. People paying what you charging, and that's that. One of the biggest phrases in the streets is "good dope sell itself." Mm-hmm. You don't even have to do nothing. Like this is it. And once you give it to that one person who gonna go tell everybody else, yeah, dog got that. But it's the same thing, man. It's like being able to help each other is basically what I'm saying. It's like you gotta buy into something. And I'm gonna say this too.
So I'm gonna really wait. You just brought up a good point to tie back into what we was just saying. So let's say older parent, whatever, passes away. I'm really seeing like our generation and the generations before us, if our family member or someone owned a business, everyone that I would talk to had stories about growing up in that business. Like that's where they went after school and that's where they spent their summers. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, that's what I was mentioning earlier. Like you have to make people be a part of the business. You got to make it personal so that they have a personal attachment to the business. Like I want to see this successful, but even deeper than that with the new generation, I think part of our problem is we can't even, man, so many of us want to be the chief, man. And nobody's willing to relinquish that role to maybe be the second in command to get some stuff going forward. See, like with me,
I never understood that though. Like, I don't think, like, number one, we need to kill that notion today, right here, right now. Because I'm tired. I hate when, not you, but I hate the statement that everybody wants to be the chief. And I feel like everybody wants to be the chief because there's a huge misinformation campaign or the side of the coin that gets looked at with being the chief.
Man, this is the point I'm making. This is the point I'm making, man. For a guy who's been the chief in a way more than I've been the Indian, people want to be the chief because they've never been it. and they don't even know the responsibility that comes with being a chief.
That's the word
Like,
I was going to use. It's everybody talks about, oh, I get to be in charge. It's like, no, you get the responsibility. Like, talk to me about the responsibility. That's the other side of the coin that nobody talks about. And they, you know what? It goes to the point. You're right. How can you talk about something that you're desiring? You don't know the dark side of what you desire. You too busy looking at the lights.
exactly. They only look at one side of it, which is the success story. They
Or
don't
not
look
even,
at
they look at it's my decision. A lot of it is decision, ego, choice.
It's
You get to
mostly
make the
ego. I'm gonna keep
call.
it real. I'm gonna keep it real. I think it's mostly ego because people naturally don't like being told what to do. So they feel like if they
see
can be in a position to tell other people what to do and not be told what to do, then that's a better thing. That's all.
in
That's as
me,
far as people think into it until they actually get into it, and then it's like, oh
man.
shit, this is way more
Ego,
involved than what I
e-
thought. You know what
e-
I'm saying?
ego death, man. Like, you got to be able to me, to be a good leader, you have to have an understanding of what it is to be a good student and a good pupil before you can be a good, whatever you want to call it, leader, boss, whatever it is. And to this day, in my late 30s, to this day, it's rooms where I'm not the boss. Like, I literally go from a space where I am the final say to a space where I ain't probably even got to say. And I'm just there to listen, soak up game, and understand what it is that this faction needs from me to keep a thing moving. So I'm always humbling myself because I be in different spaces depending on the room and the situation. And I'm okay with that because at the end of the day, I'm just trying to attach myself to as many successful things as possible. I don't want to say I'm the owner of a failed business. That doesn't matter to me. It means no fucks to me that I was the chief of a sinking ship. Like, who gives a heck? Like, I'm trying to attach myself to winning things and being around winners and letting my children see what being in a winner environment is like, taking the good with the bad, taking the losses with the pluses, and still coming out on top. And being able to work with and communicate with other like minds and understand that there's still going to be disagreements. And sometimes we have to agree to disagree and let the best ideas move forward and everything that it takes to get a business running the right way. In dynasties, it's going to be hard freaking decisions, I'm assuming, that you have to make. And people going to come out of that shit with their feelings hurt. And you got to be willing and okay to step on somebody's feelings sometimes. Like, I'm sorry, this was best for the company. In dynasties, you almost damn near got to take the emotion out of it. I think, like, it can't even be emotional decisions. Like, no, this is just what's best for survival or the next step, the next evolution of this thing. I know we
Yeah,
did it
basically
this
the
way. That's like if you got a cookie recipe and it's like, man, I know grandma recipe was the thing, but we gotta tweak it. No, I don't want to tweak it. Man, I'm telling you, if we tweak it, and it might take off. But some people be tied into that emotion, and sometimes you're gonna have to make tough decisions like that. That I would assume. Like I said, God willing, 30, 40 years from now, maybe we'll be having this same conversation with us telling us what we did to build our dynasties. Like, this is what it was, this is what it took, instead of us speculating. Like, this is
And look,
how it happened. Like, no, we thought this, but this really what it took. We got it going. You know what I mean? Shit. Maybe they had doc, whatever, just God willing. But I just think it's also about great minds, great minds coming together and understanding that you're gonna need other geniuses. When you look at any company, there's always a other genius somewhere in the room. Yes, Steve Jobs get a lot of the accolades, but it's always another person. Bill Gates get a lot of the accolades, but it's always another person. There's always another top level brain involved to get things to like like an amazing level where you're talking like you're $1 billion evaluation.
well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what it really boils down to. Everybody can't. At some point, it boils down to execution. And a lot of people look at Steve and those guys as visionaries and idea guys and out in front carrying the brand. Who was behind? Who was at home getting it done?
That's fact. Yeah.
But don't nobody talk about that person, and don't nobody, not many people. I won't say no one. Like you
Did my
said, not
phone
many,
go
not
dark?
Nope, you here.
not
Okay.
many people. Not many people are signed up or under. It's about understanding your strengths.
Absolutely.
If you're really good at,
To me, that's a because my phone about to cut off. But to me, that's a very vital part of team building. Is understanding, looking in the mirror, and understanding things that you're not that good at, and being able to bring other people that are stronger in those particular areas. Like, you know what? This is my because what's the purpose of having a team of people that all got the same strength? Like at some point, that unbalance is not going to work well for the team. And just for me to wrap up my last thoughts before my phone died is yeah, I just think that's what it is, man. I think the first step is to me is that first man or woman that has the discipline, the mental fortitude, and that's willing to take on all the bullets and take on all the hits and take on all the sacrifice and even willing to be disliked in whatever it is and have a narrative painted about them for the betterment of that particular movement. And that's to me like the first step in my mind to building a dynasty is starting with that one person that had that iron mentality of like, nope, I'm not gonna falter. This is priority one, this is priority two, this is priority three. Or maybe, if your religious God is number one, but this business is two, three, four, and five, even maybe above family. Like, that's just honest. Like, that's just truthful, man. That's just my opinion on it.
For sure. Flaw, what's your last thoughts on it, bro?
don't focus on being a dynasty. Focus on the work. Focus on doing something that can last. If you do something that has lasting power, that's where like Twan says, the only way to get to longevity is for there to be something that is able to withstand time. That's how you get to a dynasty. Doing something for a long time, being great for a long time is a dynasty. Focus on doing something great. Like focus on that. So that's what I would definitely say to hone in and to be able to take everything from there. Those would be my advice. That would be my advice to anybody listening would be hone in on being the great every day, doing something great every day, and deliver upon that. And you'll look up and you'll find yourself needing to figure out certain things. But worrying about those things in advance takes away and distracts you from being great and even putting the things in place that'll force you to need those things.
So set a goal, fall in love with the journey, don't fall in love with the destination. You heard it right here. This is OTI, Open to Interpretation, right here on the Ethos Media Network. We appreciate everybody for tuning back in with us this week. Make sure you like, you share, and you subscribe with all your friends, all your family. Make sure you spread the word around. This is important information we dropping right here. Like I said, we got some jewels for y'all today. So we want to thank y'all once again for tuning in. Catch y'all next week. Peace.